I joke for the first 10 years we were really a non-profit, and it wasn't by design. It just happened that, for the first 10 years we grew very quickly, but we weren't profitable.
We grew 500% last year.
Wow.
So 492%. That was insane.
Yeah.
I don't recommend that. Growing that fast is very hard on a business.
Yeah.
So many of the lessons I learned by doing it poorly. I love the saying, a mistake is a lesson not yet learned.
I was more about leveraging what I believed were solid relationships with suppliers, and when I showed them the financial returns that could be made, on a much stronger, higher profile selling strategy, and so I said, we're going to create a new business model, and we're convinced based on what we saw here that we can make this work. So what we asked for was a little more dating, bigger orders, a little more time to pay for it. And we didn't get a no. People said, let's try it. Let's just see if you can make it work.
I don't know the entrepreneurs that say they don't like processes and systems. You have to have that infrastructure as you get bigger. And we implemented a lot of systems. And our systems mostly consist of metrics, good metrics. Metrics are all about exposing yourself to a ton of data, and then you just naturally will recognize patterns. Mm-hmm. They will present themselves without you even trying.
We bought the goods and determined, that this could actually be the wellspring to a strategy that could take us beyond where we've ever been. And in the very first year, Best Buy generated more revenue than the entire Sound of Music chain combined. So top line revenue from one store was way over the top.
And so it's just been a long process. And the key word there is process. I mean, starting a company, it's a learning process. It's a process of in and of itself, of creating infrastructure and systems. It took us 9 years to get to $1 million in annual revenues. But that just goes to show you how small we started and how organically my company really grew. Now we're about $150 million a year with 1,000 employees. So it keeps on growing at double digits.
There's another method where it's like you get it to good enough, the minimally viable product.
Yes.
You put it out there and then see what happens.
Yeah.
And for the most part, we've tried to follow that method. Now it's difficult when every time you put a product out there, maybe that's $200,000 invested in that product, or 300 or $1 million. I mean, it's expensive. So I do think that that's also where you start thinking about your pace of growth. We grew 500% last year.
Wow.
So 492% technically. That was insane.
Yeah.
I don't recommend that,
Okay.
especially in a consumer product business. Growing that fast is very hard on a business.
Yeah.
If there's a way that you can pace your growth while you're doing these tests, so you dial it in and then you find like, wow, that product really is flying, then get the distribution.
Yeah.
I think that's a better path.
I ran the company for like 20 years and we hardly ever made money. When I give you the revenue numbers, like revenue is kind of irrelevant because they say top line is for vanity, bottom line is for sanity. Well, I was insane for 20 years running my company. Because we really never made any money.
Well, I joke for the first 10 years we were really a non-profit, and it wasn't by design. It just happened that for the first 10 years we grew very quickly, but we weren't profitable. And then 2011, Coke bought the rest of the company, and we moved from being by 2008 we were the best-selling tea in the natural foods industry. Now we've become the best-selling organic bottled tea in the country.
We're definitely at that scaling phase.
Okay.
And the challenge for us is we have to grow all areas of the company in parallel, and actually we need to grow some parts of the company faster than others so that they're ready.
Okay.
So if our sales grow, we have to grow our manufacturing capacity.
Right.
What that forced us to do is to really grow our production capacity. So we went from, a few dozen stores to a few hundred stores, and then overnight with Target, we were in a few thousand stores. That's exciting.
Yeah.
It is dangerous. So we're now in about 2,000 doors, and continue to grow rapidly.
People hate big companies like by default. They're suspicious of them for sort of good reason. I mean, there's been a lot of terrible, really large companies out there. I don't think bigger is bad. I think bigger is wonderful if you're a great company. That's how we feel about moms. Like the bigger we get, the better it is for the world. Our purpose is to protect and restore the environment. doesn't have a lot to do with selling groceries, does it? But that's our purpose. Every decision we make is pointed in the direction of accomplishing our purpose. That doesn't mean that we're gonna just grow to grow. And you see this in big corporations, like in my industry, you take Tesco, like we're a multi-billion-dollar company in Europe. We're gonna splash into the US and with 300 stores and a 200,000 square foot distribution chain. Hey, how about Tesco, you open up 3 stores and see how they do? I would just remember it's a process, not an event, business. Start as small as you can and ease in and do a lot of testing rather than I'm launching this huge venture now.
So many of the lessons I learned by doing it poorly. I love the saying, a mistake is a lesson not yet learned. I would say the top one is focus. Focus without being blind and foolish about staying the course to a strategy you set out on, even if conditions obviously make that strategy flawed. So I don't mean by focus that you never deviate from the original concept or path, but not getting distracted by all of the other opportunities that always surround any great company. But if you dilute the efforts, I feel that you fail.
I think the challenge for us right now is how do we grow and focus?
Okay.
So we have, about a dozen SKUs, different products, or different all around the Yoxo brand, all different age groups, so targeted for younger kids, older kids. Over the next few months, we're really trying to rationalize that and invest in the best performing SKUs. Every product we put out is like a child, and you want to, you hold on to it. You love that.
I understand.
And to let those go is tough. But this is a time where we need to prune and focus the energy of the company, so that we can stay on this pace of growth.
Coca-Cola certainly is a major event, a milestone in the history of Honest Tea. Would you say that's your most defining moment as an entrepreneur, or are there others?
Well, it was a moment of inflection for the business. I think all along those first 10 years were really defining moments, because that's where we kind of created the DNA for the brand. We call it mission in a bottle because we literally brewed it into the product. So the lower calorie profile, the organic, the fair trade, those are all embedded in the product. And those were the defining moments. The partnership with Coca-Cola is what helped expand it, or what we call democratize the brand.
You have to be thick-skinned too, really thick-skinned. I remember in one meeting in a zoning hearing on the East Coast, this gentleman came up to me shortly before the hearing. We had to get zoning approval to put a clinic in a Target there, and he got very close to my face. Now I know East Coasters do tend to have a different physical space than we Minnesotans, but he was very close. And he looked at me in the eye and he said, "You are cancer. You are personally destroying healthcare in America with MinuteClinic." So, yeah, my knees were quaking, but I couldn't quake in my voice. And I said, "Oh, you must be a physician." And we later learned that he operated the local urgent care, and he liked charging $150 for pink eye when we charged $45. So all was fine. But it's having to act strong even when you don't feel strong.
I understand.